What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Movie Quotes Jones blow-by review of the Hellraiser series. Now, many of you probably don't realize this, but there are 10 of these movies. 10. The franchise is currently owned by, I think, Dimension Films, and they shat out a whole bunch of direct-to-video Hellraiser movies, many of which were retrofitted scripts of other movies that they just jammed Pinhead and the Cenobites and the Puzzle Box into in order to maintain the rights to the franchise. Why? I couldn't tell you. It's not like they're making any damn money on it. That said, very quickly, I'm going to go through all 10 in order of my least favorite to my favorite and give them one or two sentences each. So, here we go. In last place, we have Hellraiser Hellworld. This is the 8th in the franchise. The movie involves a Hellraiser-themed MMORPG, which a group of teenagers is addicted to and one commits suicide over. They go to a party at Lance Henriksen's house, and he systematically kills them off until he himself is killed off by Pinhead himself. It's terrible, and I give it an F. Next, Hellraiser Judgment, the 10th and most recent in the series. In this one, Pinhead and a new Cenobite called the Auditor, who is arguably the best part of the entire movie, lament over the fact that the puzzle box is not attracting people anymore because the internet has porn now. They have a highly convoluted way of luring people to a murder house and then Cenobiting them to death. It's mostly gross out horror, and it's absolutely horrible. I give it a D-. Barely passing, but shitty nonetheless. Next, we have Hellraiser Deader. This is the 7th in the series. In Deader, there is a cult of people called Deaders. That's a cool name for a cult, isn't it? Who are following a guy named Winter, who is purportedly related to Le Marchand, the man who invented the puzzle box. And a female reporter, played by Carrie Wurr, tracks down the cult, inadvertently summons Pinhead, and goes through a whole bunch of trippy shit. I give it a D for Deader. Next, we have Revelations. Revelations is the 9th in the series and the first in a long time to be written as a Hellraiser movie. You figure this would make it good, right? Wrong. It was absolutely horrible. It's also the first movie in the franchise, the other being Judgment, not to feature Doug Bradley as the iconic villain Pinhead. It was really bad, and most people consider this to be the worst one. The only reason that I don't is because at least they tried, and as shitty as it was, I disliked Deader, Judgment, and Hellworld worse. Deader was too boring to beat it, Judgment was too disgusting to beat it, and Hellworld was Hellworld. I give Hellraiser Revelations a D. Next, we have probably the worst named movie in the franchise, the 6th installment, Hellraiser Hellseeker. Let that sink in. It's pretty shitty. Plot summary in one sentence: a really bad version of Jacob's Ladder with a really shitty Turd Ferguson protagonist. I give it a D. Next, we have Hellraiser Inferno. This was the first direct-to-DVD/videotape movie, because we still had tapes when this came out. And I can sum its plot up in one sentence: a slightly less shittier version of Jacob's Ladder with a slightly less Turd Ferguson protagonist. I give it a C+, because it was at least kind of interesting. The next one down, in 4th place, is Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth. It was basically... Hellraiser 3 was to Hellraiser what Aliens was to Alien. A action reboot. However, Aliens was a masterpiece, and Hellraiser 3 was not a masterpiece. It also contains what I call the Diet Cenobites. These are Cenobites that Pinhead just kind of made out of people, and they were really crappy. The plot... Basically, Pinhead gets separated from Elliot Spencer, his human avatar, and brings hell to Earth. I give it a C, because it is kind of fun to watch, but it's just stupid. Next, the third best, in my opinion, is Hellraiser 4 Bloodlines. Now, this movie had a plot that was a muddled mess. It covers the story and lineage of the man, his name is Le Marchand, who built the puzzle box in the 18th century. And it discusses his family, a modern version of his family, and by modern I mean mid-1990s, and then a version where they're in space. That's right. Pinhead goes to space. It's stupid, but it seems like some thought went into it. The acting was pretty good. The hot chick was hot. I give it a C+. In second place, and I'm pretty sure you know the next two, is Hellraiser 2. Hellraiser 2 was a pretty good sequel for a sequel. The score of the movie was arguably better than the score in the first movie. There is a very convenient character called Tiffany who's in this mental hospital, and her mental thing is she is a wizard at solving puzzles. Hi, how convenient and creative. It was a pretty cool movie. The Shenard Cenobite was pretty lame, but watching him become a Cenobite, watching the sequence where he is turned into a Cenobite, makes me grind my teeth and clench my fists every time. Even though I've seen it a million times, it's still agonizing to watch. It's very painful to watch, not to put too fine a point on it. I give Hellraiser 2 a B-. It's not quite bad enough to be a C. And of course, coming in at number 1 is the original Hellraiser. Based on Clive Barker's novella The Hellbound Heart, Hellraiser, which was originally titled Sadomasochists from Beyond the Grave, examines themes like loneliness, lust and sexuality, longing. One title that was actually put forward during production meetings was What a Woman is Willing to Do for a Good Fuck. Hellraiser is an undeniable classic. The story is relatable and believable. The villains, the Cenobites in this movie, and I guess in the second movie, are iconic. The main antagonists of this movie are Julia Cotton and Frank Cotton, not Pinhead. And they're both very sinister and scary. In a way, to me, they're scarier than the Cenobites, because these are like regular people who are doing these horrible things to other regular people. The Cenobites will only do horrible things to you if you go out of your way, pay enormous sums of money for this puzzle box, then take the time and trouble to learn to open it. The real monsters in this movie are the people. Pinhead is probably the only horror movie villain that I'm able to take seriously. To me, he is scarier, and he brings with him a greater sense of dread than the Freddy Kruegers and the Jason Voorheeses and the Mike Myerses. That's just my humble opinion, though. I give Hellraiser an A. Okay, so there you have my quick review of the 10 Hellraiser movies. I hope they just stop making them, or I hope they do something with Clive Barker and Doug Bradley. If you're not my friend on Facebook, I invite you to seek me out and add me, Movie Quotes Jones. I'm also now on Twitter at this handle. Peace out.